We'll call this morning's meeting to order. Our first item is the approval of the agenda, and I do want to point out that there was one item on the consent agenda that in regards to the stop signs and yield signs that we had on our agenda last week, and there was some confusion on the way it was presented. So this is basically to approve the quotes. I think before it was, the request was to spend the money, I think, and which was already in the budget. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gross, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Citizens' comments. Citizens to be heard. Do we have any online?
No online, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will move into the approval of bills and vouchers. And I think Commissioner Mojo had asked why we did not get the one on vouchers, Commissioner vouchers and stuff. That's not included.
I'll check on that, Mr. Chair.
I make a motion to approve the bills that were presented,
Second.
unless you want to wait for the other one.
Well, that should come up today, because I think their intention is to pay it, so. Let's just, can we just hold off and do that?
Fine.
I'll move that further down, if that's okay. With your motion second. Okay. Minutes from January 26th.
I move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Ebinger,
Second.
second by Commissioner Cayley. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. We'll go into our weekly COVID-19 update with Kathy and, yeah, Jamie, are you going to join us? I didn't know if you were coming up or not, so.
I could come only if I talked fast. Good morning.
The word's
Mr.
out,
Chair.
huh?
And we talk really fast. Okay, look at the numbers.
Thank you very much for your report.
Okay, you're welcome. Have a great day.
All right, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. So I handed out the information on the numbers. So it shows our cumulative cases at 6,701. There's an increase from last week, but not huge. That was 6,667. So we've got 6,701. So it's a little bit up. Minnesota is 468, 682. So a little bit up from last week, but still not big surges. The cumulative deaths, if you noticed last week, I had 84 listed, and they changed that. One death they had attributed that it was in Clay County. It was a Clay County resident, and it actually wasn't. It was in another county, so they took that death off and put it on the other county. So it's 83 deaths. And then 6,302 in Minnesota. So it lists the number of people out of isolation. So our active cases are 69. Last week we reported them as 99. So we're reducing the numbers of active cases that we're following. So the numbers are good. That's great that we have less active cases and less circulating virus that we're following. So hospitalizations still, cumulative hospitalizations 280, and then the 24/780. So our hospitalizations in ICU and in the regular hospital are manageable, and no increases in those hospitalizations. And then our 14-day case rate per 10,000 is 3217. So that's also down from last week, so that's really good. You see the graph at the bottom, just the Clay County cases per week. So not really any changes from last week, obviously. And then the cumulative cases by age group on the next page. So the 20 to 24 is the age range that was the highest cumulatively. And then you see the active cases by age group on that second graph. The 15 to 19-year-olds and the 20 to 24-year-olds are the active cases by age group currently. And then the third page is hospitalizations, ICU, and so those are just the statewide data. 24,565 hospitalizations and 5,079 in ICU. So those numbers are stable, as we call that. And then I talked about the deaths. So we certainly haven't had any additional deaths, and that one death was reported in the wrong county. So we have the 83 deaths. I'll let Jamie talk about the vaccine distribution in just a second. I was going to mention our saliva testing site is still in operation. We don't have an endpoint yet. They initially were going to be done at the end of December, but they continue to be able to operate across Minnesota, and so our testing site is still available, and we have that on our website as far as the hours and operation times. The number of tests that they're being conducted, the second and third week of January, it was in the 2,000, about 2,000 people per week. This last week of January 31st, there was 1,647, so it was down a little bit, number of folks that were being tested. And of course, those are Minnesota residents and North Dakota residents that are able to go to the testing site. There was a little bit of a glitch with North Dakota Blue Cross Blue Shield, where some folks were getting bills. And this testing site is free. There's no out-of-pocket costs. I connected North Dakota Blue Cross Blue Shield with the Vault management team to fix the way that was getting billed, and folks were receiving some bills as well. But this is a free testing site. They will bill insurance and try to recoup some of the costs by insurance payments, but there is never a cost to individuals. So if there's an issue, that they can just contact public health and we'll work through that process. Any questions on the data? I went pretty quick. Otherwise, we'll move over to Jamie and she'll talk about the vaccination information.
Okay, so looking at the data, basically Clay County compared to Minnesota, we are the total number of people with at least one dose of vaccine, 10.5%. 6,580 citizens in Clay County versus 10.1% of the population in all of Minnesota. And then the total number of people completing the vaccine series, 2.7 in Clay County and 2.9 in the state overall. People aged 50 to 64 with at least one dose in Clay County, 13%, and 10.7% statewide. And then people age 65 with at least one dose of vaccine, 30.7% in Clay County and 27.4%. So we're doing better than what they have been portraying us in our region. And our strongest competitor has been Monoman County, which is White Earth Reservation, actually. So we're doing pretty well. And we did get a little bit of a late start without having our hospital. But Clay County Public Health has requested a lot of vaccine. We've gotten it and we've distributed it, and it's kind of slowing down because we now have more opportunities for vaccines. So you probably saw retail pharmacies receiving the limited doses are still an issue, but they're being distributed to pharmacies and clinics and public health as well right now, and still coming through our hospital associations. The bottom line there, if you look at that 3-day goal, that's a statewide 90%. Clay County Public Health has been at 72%, or 72 hours, meeting that goal on a weekly basis. Last week, we gave 1,000 doses and again met that 72-hour timeline. This week, we are doing just 400 first doses, and we're starting on our second doses. We're giving 200 of second doses this week. And just want a quick reminder of the phone line that we have set up in the county, the 218-299-7204, for information for people on where they can get vaccine information. And then also on our county website, there's an e-newsletter that they can register for as well. So that's claycountyminnesota.gov. And if you click on the COVID-19 link for information, you can also get that newsletter that's available to the public. And that's it.
Can you repeat that phone number for the,
The phone number is 218-299-7204.
questions? Commissioner?
I have a question. As part of our Minnesota Rural Counties meeting yesterday, there was a discussion about vaccine rollout and the frustration that rural community hospitals are feeling in Minnesota. I think their major concern is they don't have the pharmacies that some of these bigger areas have, and so they're just seeing even less vaccine in their counties than even we are. It sounds like they're taking a pretty strong stand in terms of writing letters of support to make sure we can get more vaccine out to rural Minnesota. Are you aware of those conversations?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think the other piece just to note is thank you very much for rolling out the vaccine in such a swift manner. Two, that 10.5% of the population is probably low based on what it really is. Are you including Sanford and anyone vaccinated on the North Dakota side? Is that in that 10.5?
No, not at this point. Minnesota, MIC, they're requesting that the Minnesota Information System get that information from North Dakota. It may be rolling by now, but it was a delay of at least a month.
Right.
So I think that's an example of the picture is probably more rosy than what the data really does say. So thank you for your work.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Well, it's really encouraging to see the active cases way down, and I'm assuming that's also then helping with your contact tracing work that has to go on, so.
Right, yes.
There are additional benefits to see these numbers down, and obviously it's very encouraging to see that. And obviously I think the fact that, well, obviously a lot of folks have already had COVID, but then the vaccine getting out there, I think, is really showing to be effective, so get your shots, everybody.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. Commissioner Gailey.
Jamie, when we talk about herd immunity, so we're seeing, 10% that we know of have been vaccinated. We know that there's more than that because of, that delay of information you just talked about. What is the target percentage of vaccinated population for herd immunity?
And I don't know the answer to that question. Is it 70%?
Yeah, about 75% for those that would get the vaccine.
Yeah.
I did know, yes. You can get herd immunity from people that have received or that have COVID, that have some immunity, but of course that's not the way we want people to achieve herd immunity or community. So it would be through vaccination, so about 75%.
I think I read that once you get to 50%, you start to see it, but to get the true, where it really starts to eliminate the spread is in that 70% range.
Right, good question.
All right, anything else for Kathy or, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Unrelated to COVID, but what are you seeing in terms of influenza rates in the community? I think if masks work, that data is really a testament to them working. Do you have any numbers?
I don't have the specific percentages, but I know our epidemiologist said the numbers are down for the influenza across the state. So clearly, some of the preventative measures that have been used for COVID are working for influenza. So that's really good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your
Okay.
report.
Thank you.
All right. Business Relief Program update for Steve. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I just wanted to provide a real brief update on our business relief plan. As you guys are well aware, last Tuesday, this board approved the distribution of roughly $1.24 million in business relief to 78 different businesses within Clay County. By the end of that work day, the businesses that were successful in their application did receive notification of their funding allotment, and they also were asked to provide, or were provided the documentation that needed to be completed prior to the distribution of their funds. And so as of this morning, of the 78 businesses, we received roughly 66 responses with the necessary paperwork. We're continuing to work with the remaining 17 businesses, or 12 businesses. And we'll be sending out email reminders tomorrow if we have not heard from them today. And then by Friday morning, we'll be reaching out to them with a phone call and helping them process through the documentation. Our goal has been, from the county's perspective, to provide one run of checks for that business relief. And so we're hoping that we'll be able to have all that documentation by the end of the week. In talking with Mark, he's noted that the businesses have been very appreciative of the funding and shared some different examples of how impactful the money is going to be for them moving forward. So that has been very fun to see. So if with that, I would yield for any questions.
Any questions of Steve? Yeah, Commissioner Mojo.
I think it's clear that that money is vitally important to the businesses that did apply. I understand from our perspective, we want to have one run of checks. I'm concerned if there are businesses that for whatever reason haven't returned those, that it would delay getting the money to businesses that are really needing it. I don't know if it would be possible, if they haven't returned them by Friday, that we really, this board has approved those payments.
Right.
So if it would be possible to pay those that have returned it, and then the next week have another run. Logistically, I'm not sure about how that affects a department, but I certainly would be in support of getting the money to those businesses as soon as possible.
I'll work with Lori on that, and we'll get that out as quickly as we can.
Any other questions on the business relief portion? If not, we'll move into the next item, which is the reimbursement for the food, beverage, and lodging due to the COVID pandemic.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. As you recall, back on January 19th, this board unanimously approved a 6-month reimbursement of 2020 licensing fee equivalents for the food, beverage, and lodging businesses due to the COVID pandemic. We also extended that reimbursement to 6 rural venues where Clay County does their alcohol licensing. When we went all in total, we had 292 businesses that would be impacted by this reimbursement, totaling $76,575.25. Because we did not anticipate this issue, we didn't have anything in the budget for 2021 in this, and so we would be looking to utilize Clay County General Reserve funds for these funding payments. Just to kind of break it down a little bit, of the 292 businesses, if the board were to move forward with this, 57 of the businesses that are receiving business relief would receive funding 57. So we'd have they would receive both a check for their business relief and also for the refund, and then there would be 235 additional businesses that would receive that funding. The auditor's office does not have.
Excuse me, Steve. So the difference between those, of course, would be that some of them were not necessarily forced to be shut down.
Correct. Yes, that's correct. And so the 57 businesses will very likely receive the funding as we spoke on earlier, probably a little bit more quickly. The 235 businesses will have vouchers that will need to be put together by the auditor's office, and so that will take a little bit more time. But here, hopefully within the next week or so, we would have that funding back to the businesses. So with that, I would yield for any questions.
So when we first started talking about this, there was kind of a concern about the play on words, so to speak, how you're doing this with our community health board. They were concerned about tying it to permits, and You know, so I was thinking this through, and I was thinking maybe the best thing we could call it would be the food, beverage, and lodging COVID relief payment. You know, and I think that's plenty good. I think that would meet the language that the Community Health Board would like to see us use. And that would then also include those, how many, did you say there were 6 rural?
6 rural, yes, yep.
Yeah, okay. And then I do want to comment, I do believe that we should, you mentioned about this having to come out of reserves. I do believe that for right now, we have to target the entire amount of our money by March 1st, I believe it is.
March 15th.
March 15th, but so I think that at this point, you know, I would like to see us earmark the 31,000 that we had to also go towards that relief.
Okay.
I mean, that's my opinion, but. So the amount that would come out of reserves would be more like 40-some thousand, 45,000.
All right, we will do that.
So you're looking for a,
We'd be looking for a motion to provide the COVID relief for food, beverage, and lodging.
any questions, or somebody care to make that?
Mr. Chair, I will make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Mojo.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gross. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you for your work on that, Steve, and the rest of the group. All right, we'll now go into our second request from Taylor Radke to waive penalties and interest. Michelle, you're going to come up and talk to us on it. Is that who we have on the phone now, is Taylor?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe we can, Michelle, do you want to just start off with, because didn't we have this on our, didn't we act on this last week?
In November, you guys gave him a 30-day extension,
Oh, okay.
and he ended up paying 2 of the parcels and didn't get the other 2 paid on time. But he did make a $100 payment on each one of those, and then he ended up paying them in full. And Nancy sent him, I'm assuming, a receipt, with the balance owing. So this is his second request to waive penalties on the other 2 parcels.
Okay.
You wrote a letter.
Yes.
Okay, now he's just asking for a waiving of the penalty, not of taxes or anything, right?
Nope, just the penalty of the remaining 2 parcels.
Yeah, okay, that's really, I understood, yeah. I'll make a motion to waive penalties.
Okay, we have a motion to waive.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Gross, second by Commissioner Mojo. Any further discussion? Yep, Commissioner Mojo.
When Taylor spoke to our board in November, we heard that it was, because there was an eviction moratorium, it was something where it was a hardship that he was incurring because his tenants were incurring COVID strain as well. And we directed him to talk with Lakes and Prairies in terms of some housing relief dollars that they had. And in Taylor's letter, it really seems as though, one, he did work with Lakes and Prairies, and it was taking time to get those payments processed. I know that. I serve on that board, so I know that that was difficult for them to make sure they worked through those. And Taylor, I'm really sorry for the hardship that you have incurred because of this. I appreciate that you are doing whatever you can to make sure you are addressing the delinquent fees. I'm not quite sure how long the eviction moratorium will last. I don't know if any of us, Steve, do you really know, do you know how long that's supposed to last?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Mojo, I believe the moratorium will go through the peacetime emergency. It's part of that peacetime emergency.
And I know that he, in his letter, had asked for a little bit of an extension on that. I would certainly be in favor of extending this up to 60 days because that would get us right before the next round of property taxes would be due. And I think when it gets to that point, I think, Taylor, you're going to have to probably evaluate some other things besides this. So that would be my support.
Okay, so the motion did not include a 60-day.
Then,
You wanna,
have we voted on the vote?
we did not vote on the,
So did you make the motion and then I second it? Frank, would that fall within your motion?
I can go work with that.
60 days? And I would support it.
so 60 days to pay, or to,
He has paid in.
yeah, he has paid, yeah.
I have it paid.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's just
that's,
a penalty that he's wanting us to,
This is
Oh.
just waiving fees.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
in the letter said extend the 30 days.
oh,
so I think the way the motion is
The
now.
motion's
good.
fine, sorry.
All right. All right, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign, motion carried. Okay, Taylor, your request has been granted.
Thank you.
You bet, thank you. Okay, we'll move into our Soil and Water Conservation District update. Good morning, Kevin. It's good to see you in person.
I've done a couple things on your Teams meeting thing, and it works. It's not the way I'd rather do it. I like being here and in front of everybody as well, so,
Well, we try to keep it safe here, so.
well, I appreciate that. I was asked to basically kind of put together what we've done in last year, 2020, and also kind of a recap of,
Oh, is your mic on, by the way?
it's green. Is that-
Okay, okay. Yeah, you might want to get a little closer. You can slide it closer there. There you go.
Okay, sorry. A little recap of what we did for our program in 2020 and then what our outlook for 2021 is, but also because I have not met Commissioner Cayley before, I guess we did a Zoom meeting on my board member meeting in January, and Commissioner Ebinger, nice to meet you folks, but I guess a little benefit for your commissioner and everybody else, just what and who we are. So I put together a brief PowerPoint of who we are, what we are, and when we originated. And as you see on the screens, we were established in 1945, June 21st of 45. Last year was our 75th anniversary. We had hoped to do something to celebrate a little bit. Typically, we'll have a tour every other year. That was not had. And also, our celebration that we had hoped was put off for another year. So we may do something, a 76th or maybe a 77-year celebration. So anyway, going on here, we are a subdivision of state government. We were created in 1945, as I said. The very first SWCD was in 1938. And we became, basically, were created due to the Dust Bowl era from the 1930s. We have an elected office of supervisors, 5 supervisors, similar to yourself, that represent 5 different regions of the county, representing 6 townships each. We are funded primarily through state grants, county allocations through you folks. Self-generated funds, we have a tree program that we sell to landowners in Clay County. We drill rental program to area landowners, farmers primarily, and then other grants that we also take advantage of. And we have projects such as shelter belts, grass waterways, and you can see the list on the board there. Our early history started from after World War II. A lot of the goals of the operation at that time, the commission or the county SWCD supervisors, drainage was a huge issue. So they took advantage of the Army surplus program where they bought a cat and a scraper. And at that time too, surveyed for ditches primarily in the office in the county to get water off of their property land to make their farm land more productive. And also, at that time, there was cost sharing available through the federal government to get more acreage and produce food for the United States. Wind erosion, as I said, the Dust Bowl era created a lot of our programs in the state. Cleaning ditches is a major problem, had been for many years. You can see erosion in the county ditches there. That's along Highway 9. That's a state road, I guess. And then as time has gone on, more tillage has been reduced through better equipment and the need for keeping wind erosion under hat. And you can see there where one field has got good residue and how they clean the ditches there, and the field that's been worked black, basically you can see the wind erosion that's occurred in the road ditches. Tree program, since 1945, we planted over 3,900 acres of trees. We work with probably 150 landowners every year to plant and sell trees. We don't plant all of our trees, but we do have over 30 different varieties that we have available to landowners for planting for field windbreaks and shelter belts around their farmyards. Tree matting, basically keeping your trees clean of weeds. And you can see this is of planting for I guess it's a feedlot that a landowner has south of Hawley. And you can see on the left side there, the land was worked black, which is like what we like to see planted in a nice clean, basically in a garden if you could do that. And plant the trees, and then we come along afterwards and put a fabric, it's plastic with, basically it's a mesh that allows water to go through, but weeds can't pop up through it, so it's a weed barrier. And it made the survival rate on our trees, we've had much better luck over the years. Early on, probably in the late 1990s, we were putting on over 20 miles of this in the county. Some of that has been reduced over the years. We're probably looking at close to 5 miles now that we do every spring after planting our trees. No-till drill operations. We've purchased 2 John Deere no-till drills, and since 1993, we average between 1,500 and 1,600 acres for landowners that rent this to primarily plant their crops directly into last year's crop residue. It reduces erosion over winter and makes some of their tillage operations not needed.
Why is this one piece of equipment that farmers don't buy, that they rent?
They do buy it. We've had it since 1993 where we had that operation to allow landowners to rent that, basically to kind of as an educational promotion. And at that time in the early 90s, no-till was not very popular. And it was something that our board felt, let's try to get this out as an educational tool. So we purchased the no-till drill at 1993, rented it out to landowners. And I think what we found is in the eastern part of the county where the land is a little bit lighter, maybe a little more erosive, heavier clay soils, people just need to wait a little bit longer because heavy clay takes a little longer to dry out. If you have crop residue on the field, it collects more snow and it takes a little longer to dry out. So what we've seen is that we've had more success in the eastern part of the county, and by renting our drills out to those farmers over years, they have gone on and purchased their own drills ours is only 15 feet wide. They would rather see something, 40 feet wide. And I understand they can done a lot faster, but we feel with a 15-foot drill, everybody has a tractor large enough to pull that, and it's available to everybody. So we've continued to do the 15-foot, and like I say, it's been very popular. We probably have 25 to 30 landowners every spring that have come and rented our drills from us. So we have somebody that Craig Halverson in the office works with that program and kind of eats, sleeps, and drinks with that when the season is upon us. He's with it on in the evenings, on the weekends, just part of doing the job. But yeah, like I say, it has caught on quite a little, and planting into your existing residue basically reduces a tillage operation that no use to be spending your hard-earned cash on fuel and going over the field more than what's necessary. Water erosion is also huge. In Clay County here are flooding events. We've had numerous floods over the years, and you can see roads washed out. There's a farmer field in the top left up there. It looks like a mini Grand Canyon that needs some work done on it. Over in the top right is a pasture, which you would guess with grass seeded in there, planted, it would kind of reduce erosion. But when the water gets up high enough and recedes, there's a lot of force behind it, and you can see what it does in the bottom picture there too. It just, took that landowner's yard almost away from. So those are things that we work with the cost share with landowners on. This one is a site near Glendon that the Buffalo River, we have lots of stream bank erosion along the Buffalo River and some of our other tributaries. This is a site where you can see where the landowner had grain bins and a shop up in the top left corner there. The erosion in that bend in the river got within 3 feet of that shop that he had there. So before we got in to work on this one, he had to remove his grain bin. So here's the shop and the shed that he's got. This is a site where typically we would like to slope back the bank in order to do some type of conservation practice in there. This one was so tight in there that we had to create basically a vertical wall. And there was an outfit out of Mankato, Minnesota it was called multi-block. They took 40 tires per block, ground them up, glued them together with it was a latex, a water-based glue. That was something that DNR required within the river that had to be, you didn't want a petroleum-based product. So like I say, the tires, I guess, are petroleum-based, but they allowed this one to go through. And you can see where the water has been up on the third tier there with the white line of the tier of the blocks is, it has been tested quite a bit. We've actually got some other photos where it's within about 6 inches of the top actually. So it has been tested. It's been in there since the early, I guess it was about the mid-1990s. So it's been serving the purpose for the landowner, and it's a different option that we had available to landowners at that time. This next one is a site east of Hawley that the Buffalo River came through a bridge, and it washed out a landowner's the river bank on their side. This one eventually got about 20 feet from their house on the left up there. We worked with our NRCS engineer to design a cable concrete product. It basically looks like a waffle concrete block system that has stainless steel cabling there that we would lay in place there, and they would be bolted together. Here's the after product. DNR is another one here that had trouble getting a permit on this one. They do not like to see concrete in the river. They would rather see more natural products like rock and that type of thing. But in this case, it was a very tough site, so we were able to slope it back a little bit. They were so concerned that it was not going to look very natural and I agree, it's not a very natural looking site there. Here's what it looks like now. And what happens is as the water raises, sediment deposits in those waffle blocks and soil gets in there where they planted some native seeds and up the bank there. So like I say, to me, it looks fairly natural, I guess, and better than what we had there before. Education is a big part of our program. We have our Clay County Fair that we attend. Our fair booth on the right side there is there every year. We've also expanded to an urban conservation program where we work with the Cask SCD over in Fargo as well as river keepers. We have a compost tumbler basically on the top left of there that is, we work with Moorhead Public Education to get registration information out, as well as rain barrels on the bottom down there for watering your plants at home and that type of thing. We also work at work with, I guess, 4-H clubs and sponsor 2 scholarships to Long Lake Conservation Camp over by Aitkin, Minnesota. We also, the Water Festival we participate in, over 2,100 4th grade students throughout the Cass and Clay County attend that traditionally. And like I say, last year was an unusual year with COVID. A lot of these things were put off or canceled till the following year. So we're hoping we can take advantage of those this year. I think all of us want to get back to some sense of normalcy. We also work at the Big Iron and other farm management groups. Partnerships is a huge word that we use and look forward to working with individuals such as Pheasants Forever. We have a farm bill biologist in our office that works primarily with native plantings on CRP, RIM lands, the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, as well as the Clay County Crestwood site. We've also got some different projects in the works with, there's a Cortiva company, and I have a little bit of a handout that I gave to you, which lists some of those events that we've been working with. And that's a seed and chemical company that we're trying to get some more of the pollinator habitats out in the community. Tony also from our office is our farm bill biologist. Walk-in access is another program. We work with the DNR. It is a program where landowners, should they be willing to allow public hunting on their property, there is a payment through the DNR that they can allow individuals out there. So we put up, we do a contracting with them. The DNR comes out and posts signs for those individuals to let the public know that there is public hunting possibly on their property. We have 8 sites in the county with over 1,600 acres in the county. Another one we work with is Bowser, and Frank and Jenny, I know you guys are very familiar, probably most of you, with the Board of Water and Soil Resources. I think when I heard this a few years ago, first thing that came to my mind was Sha-Na-Na. And maybe that's dating myself, because I remember Sha-Na-Na as a musical group that used to sing some of the 60s and songs that I used to enjoy. But Bowser has gotten to be one of our state agencies that we deal with a lot. They oversee a lot of our grant programs that we work with, as well as provide some funding for us. We're working heavily right now on the One Watershed, One plans in both the Buffalo, Red, and the Wild Rice Watershed District on programs that will try to get more funding out to individuals for projects that, basically things that we work with in the county as well. And I know Jenny and Frank are very familiar with Bowser.
After I attended your first couple of meetings, I mean, they used all kinds of acronyms, and I'm glad he put all the acronyms that they use in that, in your agency, because that was one of the after the first meeting I attended, I says, I don't know what you guys are talking about, you know. It's just,
we don't have a lot of time either, Frank. So it's alphabet soup, no kidding. Yeah, it definitely is a heavy
more acronyms than anybody.
Heavy acronym-laden society, I think, but we definitely seem to have our share of them. I do agree. The buffer program is something else. In 2015, the state law required buffers along our state streams, rivers, wetlands, and some of the county ditches. Then we get to you guys. We do partner with you on a lot of events and programs. Wetland Conservation Act in 1998, that program was transferred to us from the county commissioners. Basically works with landowners wanting to put in projects that may impact wetlands, and there is a route to go through if you want to, you've got a plot of land, wetland laws say you can do certain things, you've got different ideas, there are ways to work around to get what you eventually want to get. So there's, whether we want to avoid it, there's a sequencing, or basically there's a wetland bank that you can buy credits through to basically offset your impacts that you're looking at doing on your property. County Feedlot Officer Program in 2007, that program was transferred to us. Basically, a program was established in Clay County working through MPCA. We have 89 active registered feedlots in the county, and we work with landowners, basically make sure they're in compliance with the MPCA and trying to reduce pollution problems on their properties. Also dealing with landowner complaints out there. And you can imagine what some of those range from, whether it's spreading manure to odor complaints, those type of things. But like I say, that's a program that we've taken on and seems to be a good fit for us. County Ag Inspector Program, in 2012, that program was transferred to us. Basically is to enforce the Minnesota noxious weed provisions of the law. We work with landowners to, I guess primarily township officers also, trying to get them aware of what is on the noxious weed list in the county, and basically trying to control those noxious weeds to prevent the spread, and also dealing with complaints, because we do hear lots of folks that have complaints with so-and-so is spreading, whether weeds on their property are flying into my yard. So anyway, we deal with those as well. There's a picture of one of our employees with our spraying unit. We've taken the initiative to some of the smaller spots in the county, rather than hire our vendor to take care of some of those control problem weeds out there. We've done some of that on our own. Crestwood Pollinator Habitat, that was a site that south of town here, approximately 8 acres. There was some old homes, some refuse that was left out there, some trees that had to be removed, a lot of work that was involved just to get that in shape. You can see in the middle picture the small little inset there that after getting things removed, We worked that ground, got it pretty black, and so it was ready for planting. In summer of 2019, the area was planted. We continued to mow that area to keep the weeds down, because it does take a few years before native plantings, native grasses, and florbs get established. So we're in the process of keeping on top of that. But there you can see some of the natives that are starting to pop through there, and it's only going to get better as time goes along. So this is a partnership that we did with the county as well as Pheasants Forever. Aquatic Invasive Species Program, this is probably the most recent program that was transferred to us in 2019. I did include a little coaster that is some of our promotional items that we've got going on. Clay County only has 4 boat ramps in the county that we basically kind of make awareness to landowners trying to prevent the transfer and the spread of aquatic invasive species in those waters. We work with river keepers, water festival items, promotional item, primarily public awareness is what we're focused on in that entity. And that's kind of it in a nutshell, so thank you. Any questions?
Any questions, Kevin?
The buffer law, is that pretty much completed?
We're about 99% in compliance with the streams, rivers, and wetlands. They require a 50-foot buffer around those. We're 99% on board with that one. The county ditches, those are ones that we are presently working on. We're probably in that 80 to 90% range. Primarily what's held us up there is the Buffalo Red River Watershed took the initiative to be the enforcement entity on that one, and they are out trying to stake and also run through a registration or kind of give landowners a payment for their property, but they want to get those areas recorded at the recorder's office. So there are public hearings that they traditionally want to go through, and the idea there is to get that done as soon as possible. Last year kind of delayed some of those hearings, so we're hoping to get that wrapped up this year. So we're doing, and we keep the state informed of what we're doing, and I think they're on board with what we're fine with what we're at.
So they are reassessing that acreage?
Yes, yep, and then there will be, and I don't know how that's gonna work as far as the taxation, that I think is between them and the assessor's office. But I know some of the land, there has been some talk over the years of trying to reduce the taxation on the properties along the streams, rivers, and that hasn't, I don't think that's been approved yet, but there is still discussion on that topic, so.
Anything else? Thank you for your report, Kevin.
Thanks, guys.
Dave, here?
Yep, they're out in the hallway.
All right, good morning, Dave. You have several items for us. Start with agenda item A, which is approval of sponsoring agency for resolution 2021-15 for local road improvement grant. Okay,
Second.
we have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We're making it easy for you. You don't even have to.
Thank you very much. I know the city of Barnesville will appreciate that.
Okay, item number B, bids for the bridge replacement on County
Okay.
Road 68.
So we did get, is it 7? We have 7 electronic bids that they came through our bid vault software at 9 o'clock this morning. And as you can see, our engineer's estimate for this bridge, it's about 1.5 miles or 2 miles southeast of the city of Sabin. It's on a County Road 68. It's a project that we've been working on for a while. We've had it actually on the shelf. Bridge bond funds came through within the last year, which was very well appreciated. And our engineer's estimate is $700,359.50. And I'll have Justin read through the electronic bids.
So the first electronic bid is Garrett Hansen Contracting. He does have a complete bid with a bid bond in the amount of 5%. His bid amount is $681,350.50. The second contractor is Corby Contracting.
Hey, Justin, if I can just note too, you noted Garrett Hansen is not on the bidders list that you have, but that's because his bid came in since we printed it yesterday, but, okay.
And then the second bidder is Corby Contracting. He does have a complete bid and a bid bond in the amount of 5%. His bid is $734,344.00. The third contractor is M&K Bridge Construction. They do have a complete bid and a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their bid is $780,879.00. The next bidder is Redstone Construction Llc. They have a complete bid and a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their bid is $786,908.40. The next bidder is Robert R. Schroeder Construction Incorporated. They have a complete bid and a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their bid is $809,837.40. The next bid is Swingin. They have a complete bid and a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their bid is $846,157.00. And the final bid is Dunick Incorporated. They have a complete bid and a bid bond in the amount of 5%. And their bid is $1,294,124.15.
We do have, there is a low bid on that. I think I would make a motion to, contingent on the engineer's review, to accept the low bid for this project.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the low bid from Garrett. Motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion?
I mean, I guess we'd really have to review these, whether they're missing something, because when you got 400,000 or.
Well, it looks like, you know, we had one bid that was a little under estimate, and then there was a pretty big swath of them between 730 and 809,000, and then one real high bid. Correct, we are going to take a good look at them. Garrett Hansen Construction did build our County Road 57 bridge a couple years ago, so we have had some experience with them. We know they're a very good contractor, but yes, we'll go through all the bids and make sure there's no errors or omissions on anything.
How much are they allowed as far as, sometimes we come up with these change orders and stuff like that. Are they allowed so much, or?
I guess it completely would depend on the type of work and what type of change order there was. At this time, I'm not aware of any error in the plan, or, you know, there was no addendums on this particular project. It was, like I said, just maybe 5% under our engineer's estimate, so I feel like it was a pretty good bid. The number 2 bid was 34,000 higher than our estimate. Number 3 bid was 80,000 higher, so you're correct in kind of eyebrow raising, but I think we'll just take a look and see. At this point, we don't know where the bid item dollars are. We just see the grand total bid, but once we get to see each unit item, and, you know, was it in there is a fair amount of grading on this project because there's a little realignment. We're trying to get over the river at a perpendicular angle. Right now, it's not quite like that, so the roadway itself is moving a couple hundred feet. Maybe it's in the grading items, but we'll take a good look item by item at this.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. We'll move to item number C, open bids for mill and overlay and Casau, State Highway number 2.
While you're getting set up, this project will take it to the point that we ended last.
Right, I think
on the
it's
east,
a little bit east of County Road 11,
right?
correct?
But it will go right to where the last new construction
Oh,
was.
absolutely, yep.
Thank you.
So then we should be good now, with the exception of the city of Comstock, all the way over to Trunk Highway 9 in Barnesville.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. On this one, we did get, 1, 2, 3, we have 4 electronic bids, or 3 electronic bids, I think, in two paper copies, is that right? No, that's right. Yeah,
4 electronic bids and 1 paper.
1 paper copy.
One question before we get started. What's the diversion authority gonna be involved in this?
Not, that, they're gonna do the project through Comstock and then from Highway 75 to the river?
To the southeast embankment, I think.
Southeast, yeah, to the
Yep.
southeast embankment.
So this is east of there, this is outside of the diversion.
This is all east of Comstock.
Okay.
Basically from Ascii Guard's driveway
Yep,
to 11.
yep.
Thank you.
All right, the first electronic bid is from Knife River Materials. They do have a complete bid. They do show here that they have a bid bond amount of 5%, and their grand total bid is $1,226,907.25. $1,226,907.25. The next electronic bid is Mark Sand and Gravel Company. We worked with both these guys before, and they have a complete bid and a bid bond amount of 5%. There is no addendum on this one, just want to make that noted. Their grand total bid is super close, is $1,228,811.25. $1,228,811.25. And I should note the engineer's estimate on there for commissioners and the public watching. Our engineer's estimate is $1,503,400.23. We'll go on to our third electronic bid is R.J. Zaverlins and Sons. They have a complete bid, and they do show a bid bond amount of 5%, and their grand total bid is $1,281,842.84. $1,281,842.84. And our last electronic bid is from Central Specialties. They show a complete bid, and they show a bid bond amount of 5%, and their grand total bid is $1,312,699.04. $1,312,699.04. And we do have 1 paper copy from Border States. Okay. They have a bid bond here, amount of 5%. Grand total bid for Border States paving is $1,395,205.50. $1,395,205.50. Looks like our apparent low bidder is Knife River Materials, and they are a little under estimate, which was very good to see. I think an award contingent on no errors, no omissions would be recommended.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. Mr. Chair, I'd like to offer accepting the project to the low bidder contingent on the review.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Moser, second by Commissioner Gross to accept the low bid based with, subject to review. And the low bid is Knife River Materials. Any further discussion? I do want to point out that anytime we can maybe be $250,000 under our engineer's estimate, kind of helps our 5-year plan.
Absolutely.
So that's nice to see. All right, with that, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. We'll move on then to item number 7D.
Yeah, so this next project is a mill and overlay on CASA 6. It goes just east of Trunk Highway, or State Highway 34 to the East County line. Our engineer's estimate is $506,483.10, and there were no addendums on this project. So our first electronic bid is Central Specialties. They do have a complete bid and a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their bid is $410,209.00. $410,209.00. The next electronic bid is Mark Sand and Gravel. They do have a complete bid and a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their bid is $467,132.45. $467,132.45. The next electronic bid is Knife River Materials. They do have a complete bid and a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their bid is $472,289.01. $472,289.01. And the final electronic bid is R.J. Zavarol and Sons. They do have a complete bid and a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their bid is $512,524.06. $512,524.06. And then we did get 2 electronic bids.
Border States.
Border States, they do have a bid bond. And their bid is $616,087.26. $616,87.26. And then our last paper bid is Northern Improvement Company. They do have a bid bond. And their bid is $581,577.10. $581,577.10.
Okay, we have a low bid right now of $410,209 by Central Specialties.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion to approve the low bid on this project,
Subject to review.
subject to the engineer review, correct?
Okay. A motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Gross. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. We'll move into item number E, which is the bid opening for mill and overlay on CSA 23, County State Highway 23.
Excuse me.
The nice thing with that last project on County Road 6 is it's literally miles from Central's pit, so there's hardly any haul, so they have a nice advantage being on location, so.
Well, I think that's reflected in the bids.
Right.
Transport, to have it so close, correct?
Anytime we pave closer to the Fargo-Moorhead area, we're further from the pits, and all cost goes up as well do the prices. This is going to be one project that I really want to see get done. It's County Road 23. It's the road that goes from Trunk Highway 10 down to our county landfill. It's about 3 miles long, and we've applied for local road improvement grant dollars on this and been unsuccessful. We're going to use our state aid gas tax dollars on this one, and I'm really looking forward to it. Our engineer's estimate is $813,523.00.
And there is one addendum on this project.
Correct. We'll make sure that all bidders acknowledge the one addendum. And our first electronic bidder is R.J. Zavarol and Sons. They have a complete bid, which does mean they acknowledge the addendum, and we'll verify that. They have a bid bond amount of 5%, and their grand total bid is $728,305.60. $728,305.60. Our second electronic bid is Knife River Materials. They have a complete bid and a bid bond of 5%. And their grand total bid is $733,474.56. $733,474.56. Our third electronic bid is Mark Sand and Gravel Company. They do have a complete bid and a bid bond of 5%. And their grand total bid is $755,482.36. $755,482.36. And our last electronic bidder is Central Specialties. They've got a complete bid, and they do also have the bid bond. And their grand total bid is $763,550.71. $763,550.71. And we just have one paper copy? Two. Okay, 2 paper copies. First bidder is Border States Paving. They do have bid bond amount of 5%. And the bid from Border States Paving is $862,830.93. $862,830.93. And our last paper copy bidder is Northern Improvement Company. They do have a bid bond amount of 5%. They do acknowledge the addendum number 1, and we'll verify. You want to verify that Border States, or?
Yep, they did.
Okay. Grand total bid for Northern Improvement, $880,134.13. $880,134.13. Correct, yep, that's all the bids that we got. Right.
I'll make a motion to approve for RG Savril.
Second.
Mic is off, excuse me. Okay. A second by Commissioner Ebinger. Okay, Commissioner Mojo.
Mr. Chair, I know what our policy typically has been in the past. I have a hard time approving a bid for a company that did not finish a project that we have currently on the books. You know, I get that low bid is typically the standard, but, you know, a particular company that leaves for over a month and doesn't take care of the work when it's nice outside, I just have a really hard time supporting that going forward personally, so I will not support this.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Can I get some background information on that? What was that project that was left undone?
So they did have 2 projects with us last year. One went really well north of Holly. The other one was a little different. It wasn't strictly mill and overlay. It was actually a full depth reclamation. So we grinded up the entire asphalt and gravel base that was on the roadway. And then the idea was to treat it with a chemical stabilizer and then pave new asphalt on top of it. And as we did that, the soil underneath, all the granular material that we ground up was wet and saturated, and it was mostly black dirt and topsoil, which is not uncommon. Most of the roads years ago, when they dug the ditches, they brought them up on the road, and that's the material that they used in the 40s and 50s. And this roadway in particular, we just fought with it, and then we fought with the water conditions and the ability to stand up underneath the heavy equipment that we're building it, and we were not able to complete the project. We ended up having about 2 or 3 different tries at fixes. The first fix we did was we dug a trench right down the middle of you know, and it wasn't the whole roadway that fell apart, there was just parts of it, but the first try that we did is basically like a drain tile type of a solution, but it was more alongside right down the center of the lane that was bad. And all that did, I think, was it allowed the water to get into that area quicker. The next thing we did is we tried every 100 feet to dig out French drains. So these were perpendicular to the road. We dug them straight out to the ditch, and we put fabric at the bottom. We filled it full of, was it wrap?
Rock.
We filled it full of rock, and the idea was to try to wick the water out of there so the road would stand up. I think that we didn't have enough time for that to find out if it worked or didn't work. Nonetheless, it didn't work fast enough. The final thing that we did was we had to actually remove this poor material and haul in gravel. That took, it was like 7,000 feet that we had to do. It was over a mile, and it was 14 feet wide or so. It was one full lane for 7,000 feet. It was an extremely nice fall last year, but this contractor, once they moved out of our area with their asphalt plant, and I believe the reason that they were probably a little better on this job is because County Road 23 is right in the center of the county, and their hot mix plant is not too far away to the north. Most of the other projects we bid were further on the south part of the county, so they're again farther from their plant, so that's probably why they were low on this one. But once they moved their plant out of our county, when they did that remove and replace work, the risk to come back was greater than they were willing to do. Had they moved back in, then you have to bring in tankers of oil and keep that oil hot and ready to go. And I think if there would have been a plant breakdown, the city of Fargo, where they could bring this oil to keep it warm, was already shut down for the year. So there was I see their point, there was a lot of risk to bringing their plant back into late October and first part of November to do it, but conditions were just unbelievable last fall. There would have been time to do it, but they chose not to do the risk. And the fact that the road fell apart wasn't their fault. You know, it's an unforeseen condition. I know at this table we talked a little bit about, is there liquidated damages, is there penalties we can assess on them, and legally they're not. You know, it's not their fault when that happens. So it was a very unfortunate thing for all parties involved. Our overruns on this project's going to be a lot because it's just a lot. It's a change of work and it's an expensive change. We had to haul material in for days and days and days, and I think we're lucky that the road got buttoned up as good as it did. We drove through it last week and it's hanging in there. It's going to be tough this spring. There's areas where we've got asphalt paving in both lanes. There's areas where we have 1 lane asphalt, 1 lane gravel. There's areas where we got gravel in both lanes. So there's a little bit of mixture, but it's at this point it's still looking good. It's still hanging in there, but it was unfortunate that we weren't able to finish that, and we were all very disappointed.
I think, over time, there's been several projects that, highway projects that have gone longer than what the contract calls for. In this particular case, I think there was clearly evidence that showed that there were some surprises to the project that weren't anticipated and weren't part of the bidding process, which has happened before as well. By the time you get through and you do additional soil borings or whatever, you find some new problem areas that can impact quantities and also could change the amount of time to be done. I certainly appreciate Commissioner Mojo's concern about something not being done in time. I think we have, on these projects, we usually have a deadline for a reason. And if you don't meet the deadline, then we should be able to go to the part of the contract that talks about damages. And, I don't know that I want to get into too much of determining the fate of one business based on one project that had those significant damages. I guess I'm concerned with that. But
And I understand that. The reality is we had to have our highway department workers working on this road because it was out of their scope of knowledge. And I would feel more comfortable if we had a bunch of problems and the project was buttoned up. But we're quite lucky we didn't have a sugar beet accident on that road. Right. You have those semis running fully loaded to the pile. It was in the acknowledgement that needed to be done before beet harvest even happened. And we had a perfect fall, and over a month, nobody set, or nobody worked. So.
Any further comments? Was that motion contingent on the review?
Yeah, the review.
Yep, okay, and that met your second. Okay. All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, the same sign?
Aye.
All right, motion carries 3-2. All right, that concludes your business for today?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, just today then, with these, based on these bids, we're probably total under, just with quick math in my head, about 400,000 under estimates of all projects, which is nice. So as we work on our 5-year plan, that's always nice to see those dollars become available for other uses.
And we'll be bringing our first round of our 5-year plan to the Highway Tracking Committee on the 23rd, so we'll have actual bid numbers to start off year 2021 with, so.
All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move into our committee reports. Commissioner Mojo, we start with you this morning.
Thank you. Last Tuesday, I went out to Holly Township for their township board meeting. I presented them their check for the landfill host fee. As you know, we started that, maybe 4 or 5 years ago and presented them that. There was also some concerns on a land use permitting process. I heard the community's concerns on that, but feel they've done a pretty good job of addressing those concerns with conditions. At the MetroCog Executive Committee Board, we had continued conversations on projects. We also discussed the wage study that the policy board had encouraged them to look at, so we will be moving forward with conversations on that. I attended the Wild Rice Watershed 1 Plan Committee with Commissioner Gross. Good discussions about all the work that's going into making sure that that is ready to go. Friday, I attended the Cass Clay Food Partners First Friday's event virtually. That continues to be a great dialogue from the community in terms of food and food ordinances and local food businesses. Good conversation on how our ordinances can go into supporting those businesses as well. Yesterday, I attended the Minnesota Rural Counties Board meeting with Commissioner Gross. That was my first meeting on that. Good updates in terms of all the relevant work that's going on with the House and Senate files at the legislature. We had a presentation on the potlatch forestry conservation efforts that are going on in the northern part of the state. We had an update from the Automobiles Association on possible electric vehicle legislation and California laws if they were to be taken up at the legislature statewide. And also talked about rural broadband. There currently is a survey out there that I would encourage people to go to test your bandwidth. The reason that is important is as we are having with our legislature conversations on speed and inadequacy in areas of service, we need to know where those pockets in the state are. I have the information, and I think it would be helpful, Steve, if we could share that on our website. That is something that the Association of Minnesota Counties has taken a stand on in support, so I feel that we also should take a stand and support that. The board approved a $500 donation to that agency, and that in turn makes them a voting board member on that. Commissioner Gross can cover anything that I may have missed. I also attended the Blazing Trails food ordinance training yesterday. That's something that was encouraged through our planning commission, but also encouraged through the Cass Clay Food Partners, a dialogue on ordinances and policies and permitting that needs to happen statewide for different food uses. Particularly of note is, since we are a border community, it's interesting to see what is allowed on the North Dakota side versus the Minnesota side, particularly in the terms of cottage food laws. Yesterday, I also attended virtually the Morehead City Council Morehead City Council meeting. They highlighted the COVID relief dollars that were going in for the businesses, but also, as we've all seen, there was a new mayor appointed yesterday. Congratulations to Shelley, but also thank you to Mayor Judd for his work. I know we've all worked with him in a multitude of ways, and he served Morehead quite well. Last night, I also attended the Buffalo Red Watershed District meeting. They had really good conversation on some drain tile issues, but also talked about some buffer strip damages hearings that will be coming on, kind of to piggyback off Kevin. They've done Kevin Kassenberg, sorry. They've done a really good job of implementing those, but there are some damages that have happened. So talking about how to hold public hearings as safely as possible. They also move forward with some HR issues, employment issues, but then they also did approve the settlement agreement with the Diversion Authority. That concludes my report.
Commissioner Ebringer, thank you.
Mr. Chair, last week on Wednesday, myself and Commissioner Gross attended the Criminal Justice Advisory Board meeting virtually. Janelle Cheney with Minnesota Department of Corrections had put that together. They had a discussion on pretrial supervision in reference to the changes with COVID. Some of the court personnel directing clients either to be processed by the correctional facility or send them to the probation officers for that. Department of Corrections is also looking for a new residential property lease for the community offender release program. It's got to be something that is sex offender compliant, and they're in the process of looking for a new facility for that need. We did have Judge Rosenfeld and Judge Gustafson ask about they wanted in advance some information about possible courtroom space with the changes here at the courthouse. And I think we both advised that funding for that has yet to be identified, and that there really is any specific information we could give them at this point. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Kaylee.
On Tuesday, the second after our board meeting, we had a collaborative children's mental health work group meeting, and there was a presentation from the Therapeutic Services Agency on mental health services for deaf and hard of hearing children or children of deaf parents. This is kind of a niche community that has some specific needs, and it was really interesting to hear what's available. So more information for the community, if you are interested in getting these services, can be found at hoperealized.com. On Thursday the 4th, there was a joint powers meeting. There was a presentation from CAP LP. Fabulous presentation. They really do incredible work in our community and serve families in so many different ways. I know that there's been a lot of discussion in social media with community members looking for tax filing services, and the VITA tax assistance through CAP-LP is available. I posted on my Facebook page the email address to get signed up for an appointment for that. But you can just contact CAP-LP to get a hold of when those services are available. Also at that joint powers meeting, Moorhead Public Schools and DGF talked about staff vaccination and how that's been going. On the 4th as well, I attended the local advisory council for children's mental health. We just did a lot of beginning of the year approval of budget and spending things at that meeting. Also on Thursday the 4th was the Clay County Collaborative meeting. We reviewed the fiscal 21 budget and approved or reviewed the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2022. There's no increases to funding in programs. And we also talked about, with Carolyn Sterned retiring this summer, what that hiring and transition process is going to look like for the collaborative. So the scope of work for that position is being released and distributed through agencies associated with the collaborative, and there will be a search process through that. Just a note from the children's mental health groups that survey that I mentioned several weeks ago, going out to parents and providers to get a feel for what services are being utilized and needed in addressing children's mental health issues, is going out soon. Families associated with Head Start will get it through there, as well as some other agencies in the community. The LIC also approved parents that participate in that survey, there will be an incentive of, I think it's a $5 gift card to a grocery store. So if you're interested in filling out that survey to help us get a feel for what services are needed and being utilized and what it's like accessing those services, you can get in touch with Head Start or social services and they will get that survey out to you. Friday, February 5th, I attended the first Friday meeting that Jenny mentioned already. There was presentations from some packaged food industry entrepreneurs in our region, Sun Butter, Charlie's Chow, and Fermented, and it was really interesting to hear their stories and how our regulations have affected the development of their businesses. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Gross.
And Tuesday after the regular meeting here, I attended 3 meetings. First one was highway tracking. There we discussed sheriff paying for the 11th Street underpass with City of Moorhead. I know they're asking for some more money, but I also see now that the bridge in the North Fargo Bridge is sliding down. We're gonna need some work there too. I don't know if that's gonna affect some of our money that's available, but we committed so much money so far to the underpass, and they'd like us to commit some more. But hopefully we can find some money for Moorhead and for that North Bridge, the sliding that's involved there. We went to the PIC committee next, and there we talked some more on the 4-H. They want to increase the 4-H from half-time to full-time. There we had some more discussion on that. Sort of voted against it to move ahead with that, but that's where we're sitting at on it right now. I don't know what the plan's going to be, what they're going to do. After that, we went to criminal justice, which Commissioner Ebner has already talked about, and yeah, they did talk about space availability, and my response to that was, come with your plans and come with some funds. But I realized too, I've talked to Representative Margaret too already, but where the funds come from and stuff like that, I think we'd have to go to the Judiciary Committee down in the cities, and if we want to get some more funds there, but probably that's a place we should look at to see whether we can get some more funds. Probably a hard sell, but it's worth a try, I guess. And the schools and the juvenile center, O'Donnell said that the schools are coming back in there too to give classes again. I didn't realize that they were out too. They're from there, but they're coming back to the juvenile center. Let's see. And I had one watershed, one plan on Wednesday with Wild Rise there again. The main thing that I can think of that was on the approving the one watershed, one plan, which was approved, but Becker County is reluctant to sign on. They're the same thing with the Buffalo watershed. Becker County is not signed on to that one yet either, but Barry Nelson indicated that he'll try some more to get the Becker County to sign on with that. Well,
They've also not signed the Otter Tail One Watershed, One Plan.
okay, so they're concerned, I think, about too much bureaucracy going on or whatever, but everybody else seems like it's a good plan. Friday, we had the building committee meeting. There we talked about, we talked a lot about what we're gonna do with the justice plan, judges' chambers, where we're gonna go with it, where we're gonna put them, stuff like that, where the funds, how much funds are available to do it. Talked about the capital bonding plan, how much money we should be asking for that. There's some radio towers that aren't being used anymore, and we're looking at taking them down, or selling them if somebody wants it for scrap or whatever, but we're trying to find out what, he's gonna check into what are the best solution for that.
I have a question on that. Is there any way you could lease that out to sell?
We're looking at that.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the places we're looking at.
Thank you.
Joe is looking at that, and, good idea there, that's what we're looking at too. Then we talked some more on the land swap proposal that we're looking at, with, coming for the solid waste facility. We need some land to build that, and, we've got, the motor vehicle department there that, we're looking at, if we can do some land swap there. Monday, we had, Jenny's already reported on the Minnesota Rural Caucus. Potlatch is buying some land up, and I guess they're coming into the same situation. There was concern about pill payments, you know. Is it, do they ever increase? You know, they get evaluated at a certain time, and do their values ever increase? And there was concern about the pill payments. Good discussion on electric vehicles. You know, whether it's a good thing or not as far as standards. We're looking at by 2035, there's supposed to be a lot, mostly electrical vehicles sold, and the question is, what are you going to do with all those batteries and stuff like that? So you're taking care of one problem but causing another problem. So discussion on that. Broadband was discussed, as Jenny also, and I guess my next question was, have we paid our dues yet? I mean, you probably don't know yet, but I see that we were listed as not having paid our dues, which was $2,900.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Gross, I did check in on that yesterday, and we did make that payment at the end of January, so it should be on its way.
Okay, very good. All right. Then last night, I, Facebook or whatever, I don't even know what I was watching, but I was attended the Dilworth City Council meeting, and they're doing a lot of work on their sewer projects and also on Ditch 50, which runs through town. So that was the discussion, most of the discussion there. And those are my reports.
Thank you.
Oh, excuse me. And a couple other items that had a request from a resident of the gravel tax. Now, that gravel tax, the way we're distributing our gravel tax was implemented in 1985 or in 1983. That gravel tax plan, how we distribute it to the townships, was implemented, and we still are going by that. And I think it's probably time to look at that again. I think I'll bring that up at the highway tracking, how we're going to distribute gravel tax. Yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you. Last Tuesday, the 2nd, I had a Highway Tracking Committee meeting, and Commissioner Gross has talked about that. The City of Moorhead has requested some additional funding over and above our $500,000 commitment to the 11th Street Underpass project. Commissioner Gross mentioned about the bridge that's up on North Broadway, which is shared between the City of Fargo and Clay County. There is some movement on that, and so there's some studies going on right now. Depending on the significance of that, you know, it could be anywhere from some sort of a repair to a complete closure, depending on what is recommended by engineers. So that's a ways away before we know it, but I think there's a meeting scheduled for tomorrow on that both Commissioner Gross and I will try to attend. That same day, we had a PIC meeting, and the topic was the extension and the 4-H educator program, and at this time, the Personal Issues Committee, with all of the other things we've got going on, decided at this point in time not to support that request. Then on Thursday, the Clay County Joint Powers Board, Commissioner Cayley reported on that. At CAP LP, which is also was known as Lakes and Prairies Community Action Partnership, gave a good report. We got some reports from the schools on COVID and how the what their process is in terms of prioritizing for the vaccination, and what they're going to do in that regard, if they have a say in it. Sometimes it's pretty much up to public health or what have you, so. Then we had Friday, we had the building committee meeting, and that's been discussed as well. I really want to commend Joe for his work that he's done on making plans, and I know, Brian, you've worked along with Joe too on this facility and its, transition to become more of a justice center. That's been kind of a long-term plan for it. And so we have some different opportunities that we're looking at in that regard, and I think Steve might be reporting a little bit more on that in his report this morning. And we continue to work on an overall, I think what we're looking at is the needs through 2026 or 2027 to come up with what we would need in a capital bond that could bring all those projects in and get them done while the bond rates are really low, and beat the inflationary cost to get them done when we know they're going to be needed anyway. And the land swap is another issue we're working with the city of Moorhead on for potential opportunities to do some good things for both parties. Yesterday morning, I had the Diversion leadership meeting, several items there. We're going to have a special meeting this week that's going to deal with some contracting actions that we're going to probably see a lot of those things. We're going to probably go to 2 meetings a month now for the next few months with all of the activities that are going on with the lawsuits completed. The Corps of Engineers, they were able to waive the Red River control structure. So before you couldn't work on it unless you had complete funding, and so they've been able to waive that, which allows us to continue to work on that, as well as it looks like the I-29 road raise project will move forward, and that might have like a fall bid opening on that. They are working with Senator Klobuchar to get in the president's budget, and it sounds like she's very much on board with the project and will help out as much as she can. And as Commissioner Moser reported last night, the Buffalo Red had it on their agenda to approve the settlement agreement. So that sounds like that was done last night. So I think that was the last hurdle in that being done, so. And then I reported that we were looking at the P3 project being bids going out and accepted in mid-March with a April award. The Corps has since come back and asked for some modifications because of the hydrology. And so one of the P3 bidders had asked for a 4-week extension to submit, because a lot of it is done based on design build. That's a part of what the P3 is. And with these additional criteria that the Corps is suggesting, they felt that they needed more time. So we could be looking at, and that would impact the RFPs. So we're looking at probably right now seeing those bids come in mid-April as opposed to sometime in March. So it might delay a little bit the award of that. That concludes my report. Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Tuesday, I attended the highway tracking and pick that's been covered, and on Wednesday, we had county management. We heard an update from Kathy, spoke about the intergovernmental retreat review, updates on the government center and the business relief program. on the 4th, participate in the Joint Powers a meeting that's been covered by Commissioner Campbell and Commissioner Kaylee. That afternoon, I had a conversation with James O'Donnell on a series of things happening at the West Central Regional Juvenile Center. On the 5th, I talked with Mr. Melton on a series of county issues. Participated in the Building Committee meeting, which has been addressed by Commissioner Campbell and Mojo. Just kind of following up on Commissioner Campbell's comments, we probably will have Joe here this morning next week on a series of issues related to the capital planning. There's some architectural needs that we need to have looked at prior to making some final costs appropriations. Met again with Joe and Darren that afternoon on a series of issues. Yesterday, met with Shelley Jeffers in regards to the court administration space needs, and also went out to the government center. We continue to work with Moorhead Public Service in hopes of getting our cable to the building. Currently, we do not have that access, and so that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. We'll go back to the item that we had delayed early on, and that was the approval of the bills and vouchers. We were waiting for one, and I think that's going to be forthcoming, and we've just been asked to approve, and they'll, I think those will be submitted for payment, and we'll approve them next week. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve paying the bills and vouchers?
I'll do that again.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gross. Is there a
I will
second?
second again.
Second by Commissioner Kaylee. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, at this time, we're going to go into closed session to discuss union contract
Make
negotiations.
a motion to approve us going into closed session.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Gross. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
We did have a motion by Commissioner Gross to reopen, and that was seconded by Commissioner Ebinger. We all voted in favor, so we're now back in session. Just an item of note, Commissioner Campbell was able to attend the closed session, but needed to go as we are now running late. Any further items for the good of the order? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.